Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Normally, videos post at 4 p.m. on this channel routinely every single day, but I'm on purposely filming this video a little bit earlier, and I'm gonna post it as soon as it is finished, okay? Because you're only gonna have maybe 2 or 3 hours once this video posts to make your final decisions on Rezolve AI. Now, I bought more of the stock today. I will share my position with you. I will share the expectations I have for earnings in this video. Tomorrow morning, earnings will be released. So it's your final chance to sell out, buy more, do what you guys want to do with this stock. Keep in mind, I am not a financial advisor. Even though I'm very bullish on the stock, the recent drama with the short report doesn't spook me. The competition with OpenAI's product, which is coming, does not spook me. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The big catalyst has always been today. We've waited months for this. Now, as we talked about before, Rezolve was really an easy target for a short report. They haven't reported earnings since April. The company is led by Dan Wagner. Dan Wagner had a failed business before that went bankrupt. Like, that's all you really need for a short report, okay? So we have an important video today. I want to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Now, if you guys want to come join the trading community, check that link out down below in the description of this video. Here's how it's going to work. Tomorrow morning, the numbers will come out early in the morning. It's a UK-based company, but numbers should be out anywhere between 7 and 8 a.m. Okay? When those numbers come out, we will be going over them live on the Discord first. Okay? For trading community members first. About 10-15 minutes before the conference call starts, we will be going live on YouTube. So hit that notification bell. And then afterwards, we will be talking about what was said, go over kind of a summary of that. Okay? So if you guys want the first look into the earnings themselves, check out the link down below in the description of this video for the trading community. But we will be live for the conference call on YouTube, on this channel. So come join us. But ladies and gentlemen, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. So at this point, I'm going to assume that you have an understanding of the drama that has taken place with this company recently. It started with Jim Cramer basically bagging on the company, saying that they're very promotional, which I don't know exactly what that means, saying that the Microsoft Google partnerships are flimsy, saying that it's a red flag how much, press releases the company does, blah, blah, blah. Jim Cramer said he thinks the company's going to raise guidance. Jim Cramer says he would not be surprised if the stock went up on earnings. Great. That was a few days ago. Well, yesterday, Fuzzy Panda came out with a short report on the company. Basically, a lot of the report had to do with Dan Wagner's prior failed company and some weird allegations, okay? Well, Rezolve came out and said, those are not true. We have solid partnerships. The company is doing very well, okay? And now today is the last day before their earnings tomorrow morning. Now, I thought from the start that we were going to have some impressive numbers on earnings. But now I think the company's even more so going to want to deliver to screw the bears, right? Now, at the start of this year, the company put out an ARR target of 90 million for the end of this year. They also said back in April that they would be roughly break even around 90 million in ARR. Great. Well, in June, the company announced just a couple months later, they had already hit 70 million in contracts, and they were on target to reach over 100 million by the end of the year. Well, June was about mid-year. If their growth had just continued at the same pace, you'd be anywhere from 140 to 150 million in ARR. I'm assuming growth has accelerated a little bit at least. You could be reasonably 200 million in ARR or higher. And if those are the kind of numbers we get, the stock is going up dramatically. Because why? Today, the market cap is about $1.2 billion following the recent selling. Okay? That means if we get 200 billion or 200 million in ARR, the company is substantially undervalued. It would only have a price to sales ratio of 6 as of today. It should be 2 to 3 times higher than that at a base case level. Like, that's not like what you'd call even expensive, right? 12 times, 18 times price to sales. A lot of other well-known AI stocks are trading far higher of a valuation than that. So, I mean, you could logically be above $10 per share with 200 million in ARR guidance. Okay, the stock is $4.84 today with an RSI of 43. That's why I went out and bought more shares in the company. But we'll discuss that in a moment. So the way that I'm looking at guidance is on a base case scenario, 150 million. Anything lower than 150 million, it's going to be a head scratcher because mid-year, they said they already hit 70 million. So that would be an actual red flag if we get anything less than technically 140 million. So that's my base case assumption, 140 million. Again, with a market cap of 1.2 billion divided by 140 million. Again, that's only 8.5 times sales. You could still, see 16 for a price to sales multiple, and that's not crazy. Now, the loss. Okay, let's talk about that. The company was projecting break even at 90 million. I think that number is going to move up, probably to 120, 130 million, maybe 150 million, right? Because they launched the professional services division, which the short report didn't talk about that. Jim Cramer didn't talk about that. But Dan Wagner says that side of the business is growing like wildfire. Okay. What that is basically, companies need help with their catalogs, their online presence. Rezolve is helping them with that, long story short. And it's a bit of a, hyper growth area for the company as of recently. But that's all we've heard. So how does that play into guidance? It probably means the break even is higher, but the revenue growth is stronger. So don't be surprised when the break even ARR is higher than 90 million. Okay, because of that division. But I do think the company is going to project that they're going to be profitable likely before the end of the year. Now, here is where the wild card truly comes in. There's actually 2 wild cards, okay? First wild card is, do we get loose guidance for 2026? Some companies will do this in the, third, fourth quarter of a year. They will give guidance, obviously, for, let's say, 2025, but they also will give kind of preliminary guidance for 2026. It is a possibility that we hear guidance for next year could be 500 million or as high as $1 billion. Okay. That's a wild card. It's not a guarantee. It's not like 2025 guidance where we're guaranteed to get a new guidance number. It's a wild card. It may or may not happen. Okay. But say we did get guidance for 500 million for next year. Then the stock is trading at 2.4 times price to sales for next year. Okay. Like 10 times price to sales would be a $5 billion market cap. Right? Again, even at 10 times price to sales. That would be a 4.16x from here. Times 485 is a $20 stock. Would be justifiable some point early 2026. Right? So it's a wild card. We don't know if we're going to get those 2026 preliminary guidance numbers. And I think it would come off as something like, hey, our growth has been exceptional. We're beating targets for this year. If this growth continues, we could be at 500 million in ARR next year, but we will update as we get into 2026. Something like that, right? Not guaranteed guidance, not in writing necessarily, but comments about next year, right? And markets are going to basically take that as guidance. So that's a wild card number one. Wild card number two is the government is set to shut down tonight. So it looks like most betting odds are 80+% that the government will be shutting down. If the government does shut down, how does that impact markets? We may not have an impact or a reaction. We might have a huge reaction. Might be a good reaction or a bad reaction. The biggest thing at this point is we won't get the jobs report on Friday, which may create some uncertainty, and this could weigh on Rezolve. Now, we might get a last-minute deal done. Again, I'm filming this video around 1 p.m., so Eastern Standard Time, so like we could get a deal done, but you never know, okay? Now, I did buy the stock today, okay? The reason I bought the stock today is because you're down from that $8.45 level 42% in about 2 weeks because of, again, like hit pieces on the stock. Like right before earnings, that is far overblown. Like I expected the stock would sell off a little bit before earnings into the 650 range, 670, 680 range, right? But you get down to $4.84 before earnings, and that to me just seems dramatically overblown for, again, the kind of numbers that we're going to be getting, okay? The kind of guidance raises that we're going to get. Now, keep in mind the stock's kind of been selling off on low dollar volume. What I mean by that is even yesterday you had 38 million shares trading hands, but consider, let's say the average, the low of the day was $5.01, the high of the day $6.31, close of the day $5.24. Most of the day the stock was trading around $5.40. So take that as kind of the VWAP, the volume weighted average price. And that was only $205 million worth of dollar volume. Any day really for, let's say Tempest right here. Pretty average day of volume, 9.2 million. Great. What day was that? I lost the day. I just chose a random day. Probably shouldn't have chose just a random day. Fuck. Yeah, right here, I think. The low of the day, $79.53. High of the day, $83. Let's take $81.50. Kind of an average price. That is $750 million in volume. And this is actually kind of a lower day, right? Some of these days, like here, you had 18.6 million. But again, you see the point. 4 times more dollars traded in Tempest than Rezolve. Okay? And this goes for really any day, right? Pick out the day on any well-known stock, and the volume is dramatically higher in a dollar amount than Rezolve. Why do I highlight that? Well, it's because Rezolve is not as well known as those other companies. So if we get good numbers tomorrow, you could see a lot of dollars come into the stock. And with the share structure of ownership in Rezolve, a big increase in volume in bullish dollars heading into the stock could cause quite a dramatic upside move. Okay, like a huge upside move could be in store tomorrow. Even then again, considering the stock has fallen 42%, the RSI is at 43. Expectations are pretty low now for this company. And all of that in a nutshell is why I bought more shares today. Keep in mind, I have a very large position. Like, you know, it's not a recommendation. It's not financial advice. The stock could go lower. But to me, it seems highly unlikely. So that's why I bought more of the stock today. Okay, now before we get into my position and the moves that I made today, let's go over a bear case, base case, and best case scenario for the stock tomorrow and the subsequent reaction following earnings. Okay, so bear case scenario would be the company doesn't really move guidance. Okay, bear case scenario, like damn near like worst case scenario at this point, would be the company says, hey, we've hit 90 million in ARR. We're still on track to achieve over 100 million by the end of the year. That would be that would be a shocker, okay? Because that would mean from June until now, they only added 20 million in ARR. Growth would definitely be decelerating at that point. The stock would not react well to that, and it would sell off back into the $3 range tomorrow. Now, if you've been following the story with Rezolve, you know that is like a very low chance. Okay. Why? Because even just back on September 2nd, when the company put out a press release about their earnings, they were talking about accelerated growth momentum. So you should kind of show accelerated growth momentum, not decelerated growth momentum, right? Pretty logical here. So as long as the company wasn't just blowing smoke out their booty hole, like that is not the case. And if the company were to give us that bear case scenario, I would sell the stock because clearly there's some kind of deception happening with investors. You know, that just wouldn't, there would be no way to justify that in my mind. Okay. I would sell the stock, all of my position in the event of something like that. Now, here's a base case expectation. My base case at this point is the company comes out and says, hey, we have reached, again, just following the kind of timeline that the company had previously hit 70 million in ARR back in June. The company should be around 120 million in ARR, something like that right now. So the base case is company comes out and says, we've already achieved 110 million in ARR. We've already exceeded prior earnings guidance. And we're expecting to achieve 150 million to 200 million in ARR by the end of this year. That's my base case assumption, right? Break even around 150 million by the end of this year. Okay, that's the base case. In that base case assumption, the stock likely goes back into the $6, $7, $8, $9 range, somewhere in that area. Okay, hard to tell exactly where. Again, there's other variables, government shutdown, market sentiment broadly, but substantial upside is in my base case. Best case scenario would be the company comes out and says something like, we've already achieved 180 million in ARR, well in excess of our full year target of 100 million roughly. We are on track to achieve between 200 and 300 million in ARR by the end of this year. In that scenario, stock goes absolutely ballistic. Okay? The stock could open $9, $10, proceed to rally higher throughout the rest of the day. Also, in the best case scenario, would be guidance, again, for 2026. And 500 million, billion, take your choice. I don't know what the number would be. But if we did get 2026 guidance and it's as good as we would expect it to be, that likely creates a multi-day, multi-week rally where the stock ultimately hits like $20 a share, right? So that's kind of my outlook of bear case, best case, base case scenarios. Now, here's what I did in my position today. So I bought 1,000 shares in this portfolio. Current average cost $2.96. Previously, it was about $2.80, 82 cents. So now I own 14,000 shares in this portfolio. Current market value $68,000. Currently up $26,540, or up about 64%. Now I still own the Rezolve 250 calls for February 20th. I own 15 of them. Market value currently $4,125, up 162%, or $2,550. Okay, so I bought 1,000 shares in this portfolio, and I bought another 1,000 shares in this portfolio. So now the average cost basis in this portfolio, $2.97 a share. Currently own 12,000 shares. And it's $58,320 in current value, up $22,697, or about 64%. And you can see today, it doesn't say the history right here, but yeah, it was about $4.86 or so. Both of these positions were initiated. And look at that. You already have class action law firms that are jumping at the opportunity to sue Rezolve, which you should probably wait at least until the earnings come out, you would think. But hey, whatever. So again, 14,000 shares in the other portfolio. What? I say 12,000 shares in this portfolio, plus 1,000 shares in Webull, 1,300 shares in Thinkorswim, plus the 1,500 shares in terms of options. I currently have exposure to the stock of 29,800 shares times $4.88. Current exposure in the stock, 145,000. So again, if I'm right, I'm going to be right big. If I'm wrong on the stock, I'm going to be wrong big. That's just how it is with me and Rezolve. You should come to your own conclusions, sell the stock, buy the stock, do what you want to do in these next couple of hours right before earnings come out. Because you're not going to, it's done. Your final decision needs to be made before the markets close today. Because you're probably not going to have a chance in the morning to buy in or get out. Again, before those earnings come out, the stock isn't traded in Robinhood's overnight trading. So from my understanding, you probably won't be able to change your position at all. But again, I just feel the stock is sold off far too aggressively in a short amount of time for not a whole lot of a reason, right? It was primed for a short report. Anyone, like, you needed a total of like 10 brain cells to put a short report together on Rezolve, right? Again, CEO, prior failed business, Company hasn't reported earnings since April. Like, they put out a lot of press releases. It's pretty like up to par with what a short report would look like. But the company is going to start reporting on a quarterly basis here pretty soon. And again, we have earnings tomorrow morning. So yeah, it was an easy short report and easy money to be made for Fuzzy Panda. Let's just put it that way. But I highly doubt they're actually going to hold their short position into earnings. They're probably covering today. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.